It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Well, welcome everybody. An interesting show for the DNA show today. I'm solo. Andy doesn't do a whole lot with Star Trek and Star Wars, but I brought some great guests to talk about them. So let's just start bringing them in and we'll do some introductions. Brian Blevins.
What's up?
Hello. Welcome.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Always great to having you. If you get a little time away from your Pop XP and stuff to see you. And we've got some great nerd stuff to talk about.
Dude, I love nerd now, bro.
And our next guest, first time to the DNA show. Joe and I talk a lot out, and you'll see him in our chats, and we chat a lot and behind the scenes. But welcome, Mr. Joe Bernardo, another nerd at heart. My other brother from another mother.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Thanks for letting me be on the stream for the first time. This is awesome.
This is awesome. I can't wait. Look at that. So we're not even broadcasting on Andy's art channel. It's just on my stuff. Marcus, welcome. Great to see you guys. Most everybody will probably watch this later. But Marcus, I hope you're driving and you got time, because we are going to be talking first about the Mandalorian season finale. Could it be the series finale? And then we're going to talk Star Trek Picard and the ramifications from this ending. So, hey, who wants to, you know what? Joe, you go ahead and start us off. And see, Marcus is driving.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So, I've had two things this season. The Mandalorian and Picard has kept me up very late midnights on my end, because every midnight I've been hitting from the start of each show. So I thought the Mandalorian started off really strong. It was a really cool thing. You saw them hitting, the hidden Mandalorians, and it was like they were going to be coming in, and the whole idea of taking back Mandalore, and I was really hyped by it. But then at some point during the season, I started noticing a shift in the way, hey, Kick, I started noticing a shift in the way that the show was going. It was more Bo-Katan centric. And then they got to the finale, and I was like, okay, they better nail the landing on this one. And I feel like the way that they did this, there were really kind of strange things that they did. You gave this whole thing about the mythosaur, and the mythosaur was not even present. Grogu was... I really feel like Grogu wasn't even supposed to be in this season. It was brought back by financial reasons, because he's such a cash item at the stores for toys. And then the whole idea of the Darksaber. Now, I don't want to touch on it yet, because I want to hear what you guys think too. But it felt like they took the parts that were making Mando going to be the leader of Mandalore. He's going to reveal himself as Mandalore the First. They started the first episode of him practicing with the Darksaber, and then it just kind of went away. And so by the time you get to this finale, they've kind of depowered Mandalore, and quite frankly, Jon Snowed him, where I'm bowing down to you, my queen. They had like really cool things that you were kind of guessing if there was a traitor within the midst of the Mandalorians. And you kind of, the episode before, when you see Moff Gideon, he's got the points on his head, just like the Mandalorians when Darth Maul took over in Clone Wars.
And the
But
same
then you
with
see
the armor.
this.
Same
The
with
Yes,
armor,
armor.
she
Yeah.
also had them.
yes.
So
And then
I agree
go
with
ahead.
everything that you've said so far. As a matter of fact, this season to me has been a series of peaks and valleys. And when I mean peaks, they go high, and when I mean valleys, they go
go
low. You know,
Let's
most
say
of
the
the
Doctor
season
episode.
were good, and
Oh,
they
don't
went up.
don't diss the Doctor episode. Don't diss the Doctor episode.
So the second episode, which is what you're referencing, is the clone episode, and again, they set up something. We weren't sure what it was. We knew it had to do with cloning, so you're expecting this huge payoff. And what was the payoff? That's what we got. There was almost no payoff, and literally they could have taken 60 seconds of dialogue and erased that whole episode and filled in with what it was going to be somewhere throughout the series.
Yeah.
I call this episode the crypto scam pump and dump because it had you invest and it didn't pay anything off.
Yeah, I see. I am just right with Dennis on this one because you're invested. Like, okay, this has got you spend all this episode and you spend all this thing of setting up the Empire, spies within the Republic, and then you're like, okay, there's going to be something with this, and you go to the finale and it's yeah.
So they
That's it.
did this throughout the entire season. They set up so many great things, and you already touched on them. The Darksaber, that is the most important thing to Mandalore, is the only way to unite them. Well, then they threw a wrench somewhere in there and said, you know what? The Mythosaur, because Mandalore the First, he's the one who defeated it and could ride it and could do all of this stuff. That's important. I'm thinking, so there's another way to do it. And I was like, okay, this would be cool if one of them winds up being a red herring and then the other thing happens.
There was a Mandalorian red herring clan, seemed like, this whole season.
Right?
Like he had the red herring emblem on the Mandalorian.
See, I thought they were going to have, because how they did that episode with Bo-Katan saw it, I thought, okay, Mando's going to have the saber, and Bo-Katan's going to find a way to tame the Mythosaur. So now you're going to have this clash of who's really in charge.
So I don't think they could have done that. I mean, look, they already had Boba Fett ride the Rancor, and then they moved right into this. I mean, they can't just keep like power creeping it up to what they're going to be riding, So I didn't think at all that was going to happen. I did think that the Mythosaur was going to be able to be seen, but I at no point thought she was going to be riding it. I mean, it was just definitely something, like, especially when she didn't talk about it, like in the episode after it happened, like when she kept it to herself. I'm like, really, bro? You're going to just keep this to yourself? And then we got nothing burger episodes for like 4 episodes.
But she did talk with the forger lady.
Yeah, like 4 episodes later, though.
But I think, like, writing wise, they set it up, but they pulled it away because there's this whole scene where they take like 10 minutes of talking about the farm and the water and everything, and I felt like she was going to be there, and then you were going to see the Mythosaur come up. And it's like, okay, so why did we spend all this time at this farm to tell that there were these little farm tribes everywhere? These little places where they could hide? It was like she kept looking at the water, and I felt like we were going to see it emerge somehow, and we didn't get anything.
Yeah, that stupid like blink at the end of the season again. Like, I'm like, really is that what we're going to get?
Yeah, I'm going to say the whole thing I thought the armor was the spy throughout it because they implied throughout it that it was a spy. She had the horns, which meant she was part of Darth Maul's original group, and maybe she knew or didn't know he was gone and continued it on. You know,
And the way she
continued
bounced
it in
right
the last
before the
episode.
attack.
What's that?
The way she bounced right before the attack.
Right. It's
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. She's flying up.
Yeah, the whole scene of her flying, I'm like, oh man, this is no good.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know,
I felt like it felt like they had things that they were setting up, and then I feel Kathleen Kennedy got involved and said,
They just
no, we're
forgot.
not going to do that.
They're like, oh, we forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I felt throughout this whole series, and was there have been lots of rumors that of the feud going on behind the scenes between Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau, right? They were each wrestling for control, and it really did look like that in my mind that Jon Favreau won. He really wanted
Gina Carano.
Yeah, and there were so many things that they tried to bring. Gina Carano, he wanted back. He lost that, and then apparently he lost behind the scenes. And you could see they were building up all these different pieces. You've got the spy, you've got the dark saber, you've got the mythosaur, you've got all these cool things dealing with the clones. Why did they need him? What's going on with there? All of these cool things that looked like it was going to intersect right at the end. And then throughout the season, they dropped the ball on this one. They dropped the ball on this one. This didn't make any sense. And then you get the Lizzo episode, and I was like,
oh my God.
I tuned out. I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad.
Dude,
but then they follow it up with a phenomenally interesting one. Again, resetting up some of the stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. Bryce Dallas Howard was the one who directed that really crappy one. And I had told my wife when we were watching it, I'm like, this really feels like a chick flick. And she goes, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's all touchy-feely. He gets knighted for cheating in a game. And I'm like, come on, nothing on this. But she goes, you're crazy. All of a sudden, they show the credits at the end. She goes, oh, my God, it was.
Well, you know what I felt about that episode? I felt like it was her trying to have those funny moments that didn't pay off that you see in some movies, and it was the best part about that was seeing where Doc Brown went for acting for the first time ever. I actually had to look at the credits to see that was that was the actor, and then when I saw that, I kept going, what does this episode have to do other than kind of a little be woke with some of the stuff that they did?
I like that one of the little droids said, Great Scott.
Yeah.
That's
your highlight.
Great Scott.
Yeah, because
that's Great Scott.
What did it have to think about this? What did it have to do with the rest of the season?
Oh, nothing. It was
nothing. It was a complete throwaway episode, just like episode 2.
Let me throw something crazy at you, right? So this whole deal, just kind of like the book of Boba Fett, was like 6 or 8 chapters, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so every episode of The Mandalorian, they said that it's a chapter, right? Now, obviously, we believe that The Mandalorian was Din Djarin. Well, what if this whole story was Bo-Katan? Like, what if Bo-Katan was the Mandalorian that was basically in the talks this whole time?
Now,
you know, I mean, like maybe that was what it was, but I mean, dude, they did so much, like so many things they could have finished up with. Like, number one, the armor could have fixed the Darksaber.
Right.
The armor could have fixed it. I don't know why she didn't. You know, the whole traitor thing, man, I was waiting for it to happen like the whole time.
How did they break it? That's the first question. It's made out of Beskar. Just because you have Beskar armor doesn't mean you can break it.
Yeah, he's like, Beskar breaks Beskar.
Right, that's not the way that works.
No. Let me say this. Let me say this also. When you finally see Moff Gideon, okay, and they, you know, the episode before at the very end where they find the Imperial shuttle that's been broken open, and he's like, I found a piece of Beskar. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, it must have been the Mandalorians or whatever.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
when they showed him in the suit, I was like, that's weird. Like, does he have a dark trooper suit on? And then you see the white troopers like in the yeah,
Yep.
absolutely,
The
in
stormtrooper.
with
Yeah.
all the different shields, which I still don't understand that. Even from episode 1, I don't understand that.
They
But,
do mention that they're Beskar, but they're a Beskar alloy. That
Right.
it's not pure Beskar like Mandalorian stuff. It is Beskar plus or minus. It's something else in there. Could it be stronger? I doubt it. Therefore, it's got to be something weaker.
I mean, it
So
could have
their
been a
armor
robot.
should be
Yeah,
subservient.
an exosuit with armor, to make him stronger than what he already was.
Well,
But
see,
so
go ahead.
so like the Doctor episode happened, right?
Hmm.
Which I think needed to happen, which I really liked. Maybe I'm the only person that liked the Doctor episode. I really thought it was great. I love to see like how he was manipulated the whole time, and I was like, I knew the girl was bad, but man, she had me a couple times. I was like, oh, maybe she is okay, and then like I finally was like, oh yeah, definitely not okay. And then like he got mind flared, but it was the whole story itself. Like he wanted to bring the old technology and show them how it could be used for good, and then he got
Right.
with a bad technology that they thought that they could use for good. Like it was exactly his own undoing by his own way of thinking. Is basically what undid him. But
I agree with you, except for the fact that then give us the payoff. So he got duped, which means he's going to be working for the Empire or the new version of it.
Yes.
once he got
How does
played,
that go into
once he
what?
got
How
played,
does
that was
fit
it,
into
bro.
the clones?
Well,
Once he got zip zapped, it was over.
See, I wanted the payoff of why why his technology and the cloning was so important, but it was kind of like when Moff goes, "Oh, my clones," and then that's
Yeah.
it. It was like
just a toss away.
And I'm like, oh my god, this
This is my
smoke.
plot. Oh,
It's
it's
a
gone.
smoke clone. So
Well-
here's the other thing of when he blew him up. It drove me nuts during the episode. So he's Moff Gideon's watching Grogu and Din on the screen. You can watch their dots going across. Oh, I know where he's going. I'll take care of this myself. He's going to the clones. Number one, the clones have no guards, and it's like the greatest thing for them. Number two, there's no security at all. There's no shields, no nothing. And then he walks up and goes, beep, 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 and blows them up. It should be password protected. It should be there is no physical way.
His password was password. Okay, let's get it right. His password was password.
And then the other thing, I tell you, there's one thing that really gets my goat and through in the entire episode. The thing comes down to show John Favreau walk out, his character, Paz Vizsla, and she has the Darksaber smacking away like it's something she can't break through. The glass area she can't break through, and then when they have to get out of there, she goes to the other door and cuts it all the way open. It's like
she didn't use the Darksaber on the front.
Yes, she did. She smashed it twice.
No, I didn't see that either.
Okay, I thought she smashed it twice.
No,
but
they
still.
fired. They fired.
No, because remember she pulled it off her belt when she went flying to the back.
Oh, okay.
She literally pulled it off her back.
She knew she couldn't go through it. She wanted to inside, but she stepped up to be a leader at that moment and said, "We need to get out through the back." And she went in the back and then cut the circle in it.
I must have been so angry that I didn't.
So that scene with Paz Vizsla, by the way, this is why I think Favreau gave up and he threw in the cards, and he knew either Disney's being sold or he lost with Bob Iger, was because he loved that character. That was going to be because there's a lineage going all the way back with that. John Favreau wanted to be a part of that lineage on the screen. He gave himself one of the greatest death scenes ever. I mean, in the Star, it was phenomenal. I loved it. It started overheating. I'm like, oh my God, it's overheating. And then I'm like, my wife's like, what? I'm like, it's gonna
When it started
splash.
overheating, I just had goosebumps, bro.
Yes, I just got him again.
I thought he was gonna take that and like slag those guys with it
Yeah,
because it was so red hot. I was like, okay, this is gonna be so cool. He's gonna throw it, it'll blow up. Wasn't sure. I was just like, this is like one of the best fight scenes in
yes.
all of it.
See, there's your high for this show. So it was great, but Favreau killed off his avatar in the show. Basically, to me, that said right away when that happened, I'm like, oh crap.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you
Favreau
something.
is done, and I've heard the rumors, but I'm like, I won't believe it until I see the final episode to see how they do it, or if they throw the cards in, and they threw the cards.
Okay, so I'm going to say one thing to that. My son and I are having the same discussion. He says he thinks he lost the fight to win the war of the movies because they're doing the Heir to the Empire movie, and hopefully it'll turn into a trilogy. So my son thinks he's giving up the battle of the small screen for the big screen.
I don't know. I will tell you this: did any one of you think that Axe Woves was like when he flew into space and took over the ship? Did any of you think for a moment that maybe he was the traitor and he was going to mow down everybody as they took off?
Well, yes, but right before that, I stood up and I was like, "What the hell?" Susie's like, "What?" They couldn't. All the Mandalorians lost all their jet fuel flying after the winged creature and fell. And suddenly he goes underground, flies up, goes up into space, and has enough fuel to that. And I'm like, holy shit, we have no continuity just within a couple of episodes.
Yeah, when he flew up, I did think for a second there that he might have been the traitor.
When he said everybody off the bridge, get in the ships and go to the other,
Yep.
and all the ships went ahead of him, and he was just looking at him. I was like, oh no, he's the traitor. But like that's just it. Like they put the idea of this traitor in our head, so we were seeing traitors everywhere when there was never a traitor. I mean, God,
and no payoff
what a BS.
Well, when he comes down with the ship, where did all the ships that were attacking him go?
Well, they were still fighting all the TIE fighters and stuff.
Those ships, all the Mandalorian ships come down, and he's left with
past each other.
Yeah, and he's left with the big cruiser, and he's blasting at them, but they're still destroying them. So when he comes down to destroy the ship and kamikaze it into the base, there's no other TIE fighters.
Well, no, they did show a TIE interceptor that got whipped off its hinge and blown up, but they didn't show any of the Mandalorian dropships.
Yeah.
There was nothing in there. They just disappeared. So maybe everybody dropped out, and those all ships just flew to a safe part of the area and landed. We don't know. Again.
And so let me tell you what I think should have happened. All right, like obviously the clone part had to be some special part. Like again, from day one, you knew they were trying to make force sensitive clones.
Yes.
And then Moff Gideon's person ended up taking his research where he was getting the DNA from Baby Yoda or from Grogu or whatever. Din Grogu. Oh, don't get me started. All right, so anyway, like when you walk in and you see the tanks with all the Moff Gideons in the tank, right? And then he starts, like he was talking before then. He's like, what's best about these suits? Like I've created the greatest suits, using the best core ally. And he goes, what the best thing about the suit is? And he goes, I'm in it. And I thought that he meant that all of them were clones of him.
Right.
That's what they were all clones of him. And that never paid off.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Follow right into that theory now. Who made the Beskar armors for them? That's why I thought it was the armor.
Absolutely the armor.
He doesn't have that knowledge, and nobody that we know of has that knowledge, which means, you were thinking it's got to be the armor. Everything makes sense when you go back and listen to it. I am telling you, I think it was set up that she was. and then they changed their mind at the end, because this was a total of 36 minutes till the credits started rolling at the end.
It was
That's
horrible.
the entire thing. I
Yeah.
expected an hour plus of really great
Yeah.
stuff. The fight scenes were good. They gave us some flash, but there was zero sizzle on the steak, and all the appetizers were cold.
And I feel like John Favreau showed, like, hiddenly, his character goes out, takes out all those, stormtrooper Mandalorians, and then the characters from these characters from the sequels come in and they kill him. It felt like
the Praetorian Guards
statement.
are definitely, the Praetorian Guards are really, they're badasses. So
they should have been badasses.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
even were in the movie, and yet Din and Grogu
oh my
just
god,
pushed him around. I'm like, oh my god, these guys are so badass. They should be flipping. And when they were trying to hit Grogu running around there, I would have been like, Grogu floats like above it and does something major. Then I could see. That was just, and I'm like, wow, these are the good Praetorian Guards. These are the ones that failed all of their tests for their first battle.
Yeah, like they killed Paz Vizsla like in seconds, but they couldn't handle Grogu, and it was comical. I would have rather seen like Grogu running across and then two of them going into a room. And then Grogu comes out the other room, and two of them come out, and then you see two of them cross each other into the room.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was looking for them to do something like that, because it was so bad. And I was saying this, and there's a buddy, or one of the guys that came on the Pop XP. His name's Dan Wickline, and Dan Wickline said exactly what I wanted. I logged on to say it, and he said it, and I was like, well, I can't post it because they'll think I was copying him. But man, Grogu should have been CGI'd. He should have been CGI'd at that point. Okay, like the puppet looked horrible, horrible in that scene.
He was adorable for everything up to this point. And I guess why they did it, and it was the right choice.
As long as he stayed in the car, he was okay. You know what I'm saying? Stay in the car.
See, I was hoping that he would, like, because he's out, he's in trouble and he's outclassed. I wanted to see him like hide in like a hole or something, and he's using the Force to keep them back, and then Mando comes in. But it looked terrible because it didn't even look as good as those Rankin and Bass puppet shows that we watch in Christmas times.
Like, again, they could have done so much, and then, again, these badass Praetorian Guards, like Din Djarin should have not been able to take those three Praetorian Guards.
He would have been lucky to stay even, because he didn't have any of his gadgets.
God, there's this scene.
There's this scene. The dark saber.
Yeah, there's this scene where Grogu's on the ground, and the Praetorian Guards walking toward him, and it shows him do the hand up, and you see the Praetorian Guard. He just like slips and falls, and it was so cringe when I saw it. I was like, man, what are you guys doing, bro?
It's them chasing Princess Leia, baby Princess Leia, all over the growing man.
Well, see, what I was hoping.
Yeah. Oh, hey, don't tell anybody that you knew me, and don't tell anybody that I saved your life as a kid. Oh, and one day you might see me die in front of you. Just play it off like you don't know who I am.
Well, see, what I was hoping is, because at that scene that happened right before Bo-Katan goes, "Go save your son, I'll handle him," I was really hoping she was going to throw him the darksaber.
Yes.
And he was going to go in there, and all of a sudden, his love for Grogu, he's able to use the darksaber really well. But
exactly. I was waiting for that.
I get, he goes in without that, and he's shooting at them, and it's like...
Yeah, he had no weapons. No weapons at all. Like, they took everything from him.
So the point of that was okay if you're trying to show, look, Mandalorians are so badass. He's a great fighter. Even without his gadgets, he's really good. And that's cool if they would have looked that cool and awesome. and it looked okay. Again, missed opportunities. Joe, what you just said about how it should have been this huge buildup. Darksaber, he can suddenly wield it going through boom, boom, boom. That would have been amazing. And nope, because it's
Nope.
got to be the Bo-Katan show now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then they crush the whole thing. The Darksaber is supposed to be so important, and that her people all left her because she didn't have it, and then it gets crushed, and now they're still bowing to her.
Right?
Well, again, like I said, I think the armor should have fixed it. I was waiting for that to show up
Right.
at the end.
Well, in the whole point of how she got it in the first place, now because I was in Korea for a few weeks, I've been so far behind. I'm getting caught up. But man, he had the sword, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm going to give you the sword because if you think about it, I got bested, and the thing that bested me, she bested. Therefore, technically, she won." I'm like, dude. Those are not little loophole bylaws in Mandalorian code.
Dude.
And I'm like, that was so weak. That was the worst.
He super mansplained it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's like, let me mansplain this for you, Red.
What should have happened is he should have said, look, I know deep inside the only way she can do it, and she needs to lead us. I get that. We need to have combat. It doesn't have to be combat to the death, but she has to win it in combat, even if he kind of throws the combat a little bit. So at least on the appearance that she did it, and he's like, well, you won, take it. You bested me. And she knows it, and he knows it, and then they go back and forth. I'm okay with that. But to come up with that, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, just take that Darksaber and throw it out now.
Yeah, it felt like the whole Jon Snow thing again. Oh, well, I'm just bowing to you for this reason, and I was just disappointed because you give 2 seasons of great content, and you're leading up to this. Okay, who's going to be the leader of Mandalore? Is it going to be Mando or is it going to be Bo-Katan? And you could have still gone through all this, and I felt like it would have been awesome when that scene where they're all around the forge, if they're like, okay, now we're going to prove who the leader of Mandalore is, and Bo-Katan and Din go at it in front of all the Mandalorians.
Correct.
And then, no, we don't. It's the Bo-Katan show.
The Mandalorian, their mythos, the way that they're structured as society, it's very similar to Klingons. So, it's all about honor. It's all about, the way, even though their versions of the way are different. And just to go around it, I mean, honestly, at that point when they did that, I'm like, you guys aren't even serious about writing now. And season 1 and season 2 writing was very good. Again, there were some episodes that were better and stuff, but everything was solid. There was flow through the entire season. This one felt like something changed after episode 2, and the entire season, we already had some great stuff built, and I've got all these great ideas. We shot them, and I'm going to leave it on my cutting floor sitting here, and we're just going to give you this for an ending.
Can I tell you what it felt like to me?
Yeah.
I don't know how hardcore of a TV show watcher or show watcher you were, but I don't know if you remember back when the writer's strike happened.
Okay.
And there was 2 shows I was watching. Well, 3 shows. You had Lost, you had Heroes, Save the Cheerleader, Save the World, and you had Supernatural, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And Lost was on season 3. They were about to, or season 4. They were about to do the whole shark jumping where they started bouncing around through time, which was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But also they had Heroes season 2 after Peter Bertrelli ended up absorbing his brother's, blast when he exploded in space and everything else like that, or when he exploded, his brother flew in and saved him. After that, the show just went off the rails. It was just bad, and it never got back on track. Same as Supernatural didn't get back on track for several seasons later. But I felt like that's exactly what happened here. I felt like we had a good start, and then there was a writer's strike that happened.
Fonzie jumped the shark, and Bo and Luke left so that their cousins Coy and what was his name?
Well, they were battling. Tom Wopat and Snyder. they were getting into fisticuffs. So
Yep.
yeah,
Okay,
they
I've
had,
got-
they had
when
to bring
that
the old
season
cousin.
came on, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so terrible." When
No, this
Fonzie
does sound
jumped the
funny.
shark, it's over.
I've got even worse for that. You know what it felt like?
Go ahead.
Okay, you get the Force Awakens. Rey gives the lightsaber to Luke, and then here comes the Last Jedi. Take the saber,
Oh my
throw it
God.
over the thing. Anything that you had, let's just crap on it. We're not going to do any of it because guess what? They just crapped on the lightsaber, the dark saber. They threw that away. They took the Mandalorian thing of who's going to be the leader of Mandalore? No, I'm going to bow to you, Bo-Katan. I'm going to do what you want. We have a whole thing about let's set up clones. Oh, no, the clones really don't mean as much. We're going to have a whole bunch of things about the traitor. No, there's no traitor. It just felt like, for me, it felt like I was reliving The Last Jedi again.
Dude, I had to go to therapy over Last Jedi.
Well, I'm glad you
Why
came
you're
out of
laughing,
it.
really is not funny. Therapy is not funny, but
Man, it was. I mean, this is
dude, it was
Kathleen Kennedy all over it, and I know John and Dave Filoni were in on it, and at least if you're going to do that, this is how it should have ended. We've got Grand Admiral Thrawn coming. Let's do a walk into that. Let's
Dude, why
introduce
didn't-
some of that. What's that?
yeah, why didn't he show up? Like
Correct.
I would have
They're
loved
leaving
to.
it
I
for
would have loved to. I
Ahsoka.
would have loved for for Moff Gideon to make it out, or you find out that the Moff Gideon that died was a clone, and then like he's talking to everybody. He's like, "So all my clones are dead. All this, all this is dead. I need more reinforcements." And then you hear no, and then finally Thrawn shows up.
Right.
It's like you're not getting any more reinforcements.
In his
You're not
classic,
getting anything. And you find out that all the clones are what died, not actual like Moff Gideon himself. But
See,
man, it was just,
they need to consult us because
yeah.
all of our ideas were a lot
we
better
always
than
know
what
better.
they put out.
Right, like
fans
he
always know
it should
better.
have been Thrawn up there and then say, nope, here's what's going to happen. And he's studying their artwork, like Mandalorian artwork and stuff like that. I mean, if you're going to do it, let's do it. But there was no hint, no nothing. And then
No
the
traitor,
finale,
no Darth Maul. Because
Right.
Darth Maul is still alive at this time.
Right, and they
he?
should have
Yes.
explained it.
Yeah, he doesn't die till Obi-Wan is old.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, he just has mechanical legs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, nothing like that. We deserve. This is how I always feel. I told Dennis this when I talked to him a
Maybe he is
little while.
dead. I don't know. Maybe
I felt
right.
like I was
Maybe he is
watching a Fox movie. I got such a good build-up, and then the payoff really sucked.
Yeah, and when you saw Din Djarin at the end, and now they go, for those of you who aren't going to watch it, he goes and visits the X-Wing pilot, which was awesome. He sets up a nice little thing for future one standalone episodes, which would be cool. He winds up getting the head. He closes that out, which was nice. And that's Dave Filoni sitting there with the hat on, at the bar, which I thought was cute. And they go, gets his property. He and Grogu go to their new little farm. Grogu's playing with the frog, and he's watching his kid play. He kicks his feet up, and it's like a Western just coming to an end. And I went, that's a nice ending, because as far as I'm concerned, this show is done.
This
Yeah.
show is dead to me.
Yeah,
This
I
show
felt
is
like-
dead to me. Thanks.
I felt like it was Dave. It was John Favreau putting his feet up, and going, "Nope, I'm done."
Dude,
done with
what
it.
about-
All right, guys.
Oh wait,
we always do.
one last point I wanted to make.
Okay.
When he went to the Republic guys, why was there never a question? Why is there Beskar in the shuttle that freed
Yes.
Yeah,
freed Moff
again.
Gideon?
Again, crypto scam, pump and dump.
Right. Because and
You get invested and you get no return. I mean, that's all
if
it is.
he
You
would have
invest,
investigated
no
it,
return.
he would have found it isn't pure Beskar. It's a Beskar alloy.
well, he says
It's
it's a Beskar alloy.
Oh, he did say alloy in that.
He goes, oh, it's a Beskar alloy.
Okay,
You know,
then,
yeah.
then I missed that part. I remember him saying Beskar, so then that should have been the first clue. It's not Mandalorian.
God, but did you not think those the white troopers, they should have all been Moff Gideons?
Yes,
I
That would have
mean,
been cool.
he should have made him like the new version, like Dark Troopers 2.0.
Yeah.
God, but it was just such a throwaway. Like, it
Yes,
was a throwaway line to destroy a whole episode and a half of talking about it.
yes.
I mean, really, just and it totally just inerts a whole episode of season 1. You know, I mean, just absolutely makes it ridiculous.
Yep.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
Well, okay, so what we always do is we always give our grade. It's a CG comic book grade, 0.5 to a 10.0. Let's and I'll start with you, Brian. Give your CGC grade for the entire season and then for the ending.
Well, for the entire season, God, it's like so bad because the last episode really, really, I mean, it's a really big dent to the season. Like, the theme of it should be, does it know the way? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This isn't the way. That
This
is what it
isn't the
is.
way.
No, it should have been. This
Well,
isn't the way.
Right. The final episode's name was The Return, and it should
Yeah,
have
the
been
return
called
of the return of
Exit.
what? The Jedi? Like, I don't know what.
Exit Stage Left.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I would probably say the season as a whole, I would give a 7.5. But the final episode, I would give a 3.
Wow. Okay.
The finale, I would give a 3 too.
All right. Joe?
I mean, it was just, it left me wanting the whole time.
Yep.
I mean, there was pages missing. It probably should have been a 1.5, to be honest with you.
Joe, give us yours.
Okay, so for the season, and I told you, I was midnight invested in this show. I would say for the season, I'm going to give it, I'm right with Brian, I'll give it a 7. For the final episode, I originally was going to give it a 7 and went to 5, but I rewatched it, and I will give it a 3 too.
Wow.
Because it was so, they left up so many questions, and then they just literally Last Jedi'd it and they bombed what could have been an amazing season, especially after last season we get Luke coming back and then we get this. So I'm going to give the final episode a 3 and the season a 7.
Okay. Well, I hate to be kind of in that ballpark, but as a season whole, the 2 terrible episodes dipped it where I'm giving the entire season a 6.5, which is the lowest of any of the seasons. And I'm giving the final episode a 3.5 is what I had given it. And because the fight scenes were nice to look at, the special effects were movie quality. It felt like being in the theater, watching it on a big screen. It felt like it. And that was the highlight. Everything else, there was no payoffs for anything throughout it. I was incredibly disappointed, so bad in the ending. As far as I'm concerned, Mandalorian is done. So I'm giving it a 6.5 and 3.5, so just slightly off. Overall, I guess we're all on the same page. I didn't think
On
we
average,
would be.
on average, it's a 7 and a 3 on average.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Because I went 7.5, 7, and 6.5, so the
Yep.
average is 7.
Yep.
So,
And most of the other seasons were much higher across the board. So, yeah, this ended on a bad note. And as far as I'm concerned, it's bad and done.
if they do bring it back, like they have to make Grogu CGI when he's any kind of movement.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yep. And there's a lot of things I think that they're going to do. And I agree with this. Kathleen Kennedy, hey,
Yes.
Amish Ninja, is a huge deal. And I think she had a lot of putting her fingers into it. So now let's lighten the mood. All right. This feels like a Debbie Downer episode. So to the second half, Star Trek Picard, a show that I absolutely was going to refuse to watch season 3. I did not like 1. I did not like 2 even less. It was down. I was already
2 was
done
bad,
with it.
bro. 2 was
It was
bad.
so bad.
They were season 1 and 2 were just horrendously bad. It was so bad, Trek. I would say it almost made Discovery look good.
And that is saying a lot. And I will give credit where credit's due. Anna, that Star Wars girl, I was driving. She popped up on my phone and said, Picard's good. And I'm like, I'm assuming it's sarcasm. And then I actually listened to her. She got me. And when she was on our show, and I know she knows what she's talking about because her trivia knowledge and speed is phenomenal. And I was like, okay, if she's telling me it's good, I will give it a chance. That's the only reason. I'm so glad I did.
I was gonna give it a chance regardless, and I was pleasantly surprised with the first episode, and I really liked the second episode as well. Like, I mean, again, like I thought this whole thing, you know, again, I didn't really want to watch him either after the first one. Before we get started with the review, can I ask you what you thought of Strange New Worlds? Because I love Strange New Worlds.
I thought it was solid.
Yeah,
Strange New Worlds, I absolutely love. I think it, up until this show, I thought it was the best Star Trek we'd seen in a while.
Like the episode, look, you can't tell, but I'm getting chill bumps talking about it. The Gorn episode, I thought was just absolutely amazing.
Yes.
The finale episode, oh my gosh. When I watched, I think I watched that finale episode of Strange New Worlds like 5 times because it's so good.
Absolutely.
Strange New World was the best Kurtzman Trek to date. Actually, all the rest of the Trek was pretty much throwaway. Lower Decks, Discovery, what a blight. I mean, this stuff was so bad,
Prodigy,
and I wanted to
Prodigy,
like
don't forget Prodigy.
Yes.
Prodigy should have gone the way of the Prodigy internet thing.
It should have been there with AOL. So I apologize for any of you out there that
should have been with Windows NT. Windows NT.
Well, I will tell you. Okay, after
NT,
just bearing through Picard season 1 and 2, I was like, okay, I am not watching this, because when they said there was going to be a season 3, I was like, I am not watching this. This ended horribly. That whole is this weird Borg queen. It's like that means you're erasing anything that happened with the Borg prior to that. But then I saw the preview and they showed all the original Next Generation people, and then I saw Worf and I was like, okay, Worf's on, I'm on.
Well, and I saw Riker and I was in at Riker.
Okay, I was in at Worf, and then because for me, Riker was in season 1 and 2 of Picard, and I'm like, this isn't Riker. This is not Riker. But then I saw Worf, and every time they bring Worf on a show goes up. It's just
he's like, if you were any other man, I'd kill you where you stand.
Exactly. I mean, and literally, like Discovery, Doug Jones was the only character that I cared about at all, and they weren't going to allow him.
You didn't care about the magic space bears, the Berenstain space bears from season 1 of Discovery.
Oh,
yeah, the Tartar. What is it? The Tartars? What were they called?
Listen, the only thing the only reason I watched Discovery is when I saw an Enterprise that looked so damn cool, and excuse me, I shouldn't say dang. And that guy who plays Captain Pike. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're talking about Strange New World. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, it was great.
When he made his appearance in Discovery,
yes.
And that was the whole, and you're right, that brief view of the Enterprise, and then when you get to see him, he was like, oh, he needs his own show. And he got it, and they at least allowed people to write something that was solid, coherent, and they at least had a bit of Trek knowledge going into it. I don't want to say they were super fans or they were totally invested, but it was a start, and it was definitely a start in the right direction.
He was blackballed. He was blackballed in the Inhumans TV series,
and that went really
well.
Also,
I don't know if you know this or not. There's a really amazing movie called Pool Hall Junkies. He was in Pool Hall Junkies. If you ever get a chance to watch that, it's amazing. Pool Hall Junkies is absolutely incredible. Mark Rosenberg, our Ernie Reyes Jr., our Rosenbaum. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The guy who played Michael Rosenbaum. I'm sorry, the guy who was Lex Luthor in
Oh,
Smallville. But yeah, it's a movie. It's about pool hustlers.
okay.
Yeah.
It's really really good.
Cool.
It has Ricky Schroeder in it too, if you can even
Oh,
believe
I
that.
like Ricky.
Yeah,
And-
but when
and- And
okay.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, when I saw that part with Anson Mount as Pike in Discovery, I that let me at least bear through the rest because he was really good, and I was like, dang, this guy needs his own show. And
Yes.
lo and behold, he gets Strange New Worlds. But for Picard, like I said, I thank goodness there was Strange New Worlds because if Strange New Worlds wasn't, hadn't been playing and wasn't as good, and then they showed the the next generation crew that were going to be on the season 3, I would have never watched it.
Right, and my point of hope was when Terry Matalas, I found out, was highly involved with this, and I was like, oh, he worked on Enterprise, worked on Voyager, he loves Star Trek, is very interested in it, knows his stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, could they get rid of just Kurtzman and they let Terry run this, and could we get something good? The beginning shows, and then when you find out the initial villain is Amanda Plummer. She is so quixotic, so crazy, and I was like, okay, I always love her as an actress, so I married an axe murderer. She plays crazy ass people so great, and I'm like, I want to see what she does. That ship was cool, the special effects were cool, her dialogue trying to piece it together, I'm like, okay, there's some good footings here.
Well, when I saw her and I saw the Shrike, I was like, okay, so now Terry Matalas is making up for Star Trek Nemesis because it kind of gave me the same feel as that ship. And then when she's doing her dialogue, I'm just like, this is like
Right.
crazily good because how she did it. And then I find out oh my gosh, she's one of the Dominion. I'm sold because I love Deep Space Nine.
The
And I was
Dominion
like,
War stuff was phenomenal.
oh my gosh, it
Oh,
was.
did you like it when it happened in DS9?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought it was great.
That's what I'm saying. And then we start finding out, about now we've got the founders, the changelings involved. And I'm like, oh, this could have huge ramifications for Starfleet. And at no point did they just regurgitate and make you feel unwanted or leave out important stuff. They wrote so that every episode moved to the next episode and forwarded the story. At no point did you sit there with a question mark above your head. It was very well told, and there were so many member berries. They wanted Star Trek fans to finally get a sense that Star Trek is back, and we want you to enjoy this. It was a little over the top at times, but we needed that because we had so little.
Can I say that the finale, the Star Trek Picard finale, was more Star Wars than the Star Wars finale was?
Oh my God! We said the same thing. My wife and I were like, "Oh my God, it's a Death Star run."
Dude, it is a Death Star run. Dude, it's dangerous at the hell, bro. Let's make it so,
Now, Dennis, when you said that Terry Matalas knows this stuff, there are so many points in this finale that are so giving the Star Trek fans the little Easter eggs and caveats that you just want to eat. I mean, listen, starting it off with Anton Chekhov.
Yeah, Anton Chekhov as the guy. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yes.
Anton Yelchin who died playing Chekhov. Yeah.
President of the Federation, he gives his warning, which is so.
And you know that was Walter Koenig, right? You know that was Walter Koenig.
Yes.
Well, as soon as we stopped it, I was like,
yeah.
I mean, I rewound it just to listen to it again. I'm like, that is his voice, and his name was Anton. And I'm
Anton
like,
Chekhov.
well, probably
Because Anton, the actor who played Chekhov in the Kelvin series,
yeah, that was
his name is
Anton.
Anton.
Yeah, he
right,
died.
and he died. So what a great
He died
nod.
checking the mail. Like,
Yes.
Now, did you recognize the speech? The speech
that was with the Borg speech when they were warning him off from the movie.
No, the speech that he says is from Star Trek 4 when the whale ship comes
Oh, you're right.
and he's saying almost the exact speech, and then in the speech he says, "My
Behind you.
father said there are always possibilities," which is exactly what Kirk says in Search for Spock.
Dude, that is awesome. You are 100% right. As soon as you said that, I knew it wasn't the Borg. Yes, fantastic. No, that kind of slipped. I knew I had heard it, and that's what I was thinking.
Yes, it was.
I've only watched
When I
it
started,
once, by the way. I will be going back and rewatching this because
when
there
I
was
saw
so many-
that and I heard that, I was like, "Oh," and he goes, this strange broadcast. I'm like, I was getting goosebumps. I mean, there at midnight going, holy, I'm like, I had to hold it down because my family's all asleep. And I'm going, holy crap. And I was like getting goosebumps. And then he goes, my father always said, there are always possibilities. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this.
Do you know
this
how
is
I know
so
you were
good.
up at midnight watching it? Because I got a missed call at midnight from you trying to call me. My phone goes on Do Not Disturb at midnight, so it never even rang and went through it. I woke up and I'm like, oh, missed message. Oh, Joe tried call at midnight? And I put the phone down.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, dude. I will tell you, God, this is not going to be a popular opinion. Okay, I'm just going to say this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I wish Wesley Crusher would have showed up.
No,
Okay.
okay, go ahead. You first, Dennis. I want to hear this one.
I do too. And this is a huge spoiler, but you all knew this whole thing was going to be spoiler filled.
Yeah.
When Q showed up at the end, instead of making him going through it, and I love John Delancey, I love Q, and
Yep.
I have no problem with him in there as long as he's just a vehicle like it was for Picard. I would have much rather had Wesley show up and say, I'm a traveler, welcome half brother.
Yep, absolutely. Look, I'm getting chill bumps again.
Yes,
I know
me
you
too.
guys
And
can't see it, but
that
like,
is literally my only complaint. If that's
Same here. I'm
glad that I'm in good company because
Okay.
I was when that happened, I was like, man, that's so good that they got Jack, or that Q. They have basically this big, ever omniscient thing that's like coming after him, and he's like, I've heard about you, but I thought you were done with my father. He's like, oh, your dad's journey's over, but now this is about you. I was like, man, why could this not have been like this? Absolutely should have been Will Wheaton. And
correct.
I know there's a bunch of people that hate Will Wheaton or dislike him, not hate that. Maybe that's a big
He
word.
had his
And
moment last season.
so cringe when he popped up at last season. He's like, "Welcome to the Travelers." I don't know, like every time I hear that, it cringes. Like in Jacksonville, where I'm from, the Little Rock AAA baseball team is the Travelers, and every time they get a new person, they're like, "Welcome to the Travelers." I don't know why that just bugs the crap out of me. But
what they could have done is they could have let Q shows up and does his thing, and then Wesley walks in behind him.
Okay, see that's what I wanted. I didn't mind Q. What I wanted is the Q comes up and he's like, yeah, I've known you. My father's told me about you. And then he goes, well, I'm going to tell you about something else. And Q goes, and Wesley appears and he's like, I also want to introduce you to your brother. And he comes up and he talks to him and he goes, you're going to have a lot to be expected from being in Starfleet and being a Picard. I just wanted to tell you, your destiny is really strongly ahead of you.
Well,
and then kind of like end it with the Q bringing the two Picard, the two together and introducing them, and then they could have ended it because it would have given that moment. Because here's the funny thing, I never thought about this until I saw that episode. When Q says your trials have just begun, it brought me back to Smallville, the finale of Smallville, when he's talking to Jor-El, and Jor-El says, all these things have been your trials to become Superman. And so when I saw this, I was like, he's telling him, the trial of humanity is not just only the trial of humanity. It's showing that this person's adventures are what makes the to show that humanity is good. And I just thought that I was like, that was really good because it gives this like whole thing of all the things that Jack's going to go through are going to be trials. That's what his adventures are, his trials.
That's a great analogy, and as soon as you did it, I just got goosebumps because I remember Tom Welling when he's flying down in his clothes, and all of a sudden he turns into Superman coming down. I'm like, that should be your next Superman, and I remember that specifically. But
I will tell you, like, kind of like, I guess going back, I need to jump just for a second. So, Discovery was I didn't like Discovery at all. Okay, I can't say at all. So when they go to the mirror universe, and they jump the shark in the first season and go to the mirror universe, and you find out that the captain that has been there the whole time was from the mirror universe. I thought that was great. I thought that was a great like plot twist. I was like, oh, maybe there's hope for this show, but there wasn't. But I was like, man, this is really good. And man, totally off the subject. Like, why does it look like I have a girl body? I don't know why. That's kind of weird. Weird. That's all right. Anyway, so it's like at the end when they take Michael, the girl from Walking Dead, and they made her Michael, whatever her name is, and gave her the ship, and she makes the statement. She goes, "Well, who would have thought they would have gave a criminal, a traitor, and a whatever like their own ship, right?"
Yep.
And then they use that same line kind of at the end of Picard when they were talking about 7 of 9, the spy, and then the guy that used to be aboard, and a Picard,
Yes,
I didn't like that the best, but I did like the fact that they didn't give away, the engage or make it so or anything like that. I said this earlier before we got on. I love they didn't reveal 7 and 9 because I think that that may be where the series progresses. Like maybe we might see Jerry Ryan and this character that played Jack. Maybe we might see all these characters again.
Star Trek Legacy.
Legacy.
That's what I'm crossing my fingers. They set it up beautifully, and so
I'm not crossing my fingers. I'm keeping them open like this.
Yes, exactly. I'm good, man. I'm good. We want that to happen. What I'm thinking, what I want to say is through this, they brought back literally almost every Next Generation character. I did get to talk to Denise Crosby at the show and as a separate conversation because one of my theories it was Sela that was kind of behind some of the stuff at the end. Nope, she admitted it wasn't. But
the Romulan version of her, you mean?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Maybe that might have been something that happened during season 1, but I wouldn't have seen that coming in season.
Yeah, it was all the little twisting, but every single character that they brought back, all the original Next Generation crew, they gave them a purpose, a reason, and a well-written dialogue like they've never missed a beat from it. This was so loving to each character and gave them everybody got their moment in spotlight when they got brought back. Data fighting with Lord, trying to get his
how good was that?
Humanity.
How good was that?
So good.
It was phenomenal, especially the way that they killed him off last season and pissed me off to no end. And I mean, but the character from all the way in the beginning that has had the greatest character growth, I mean, it was 7 of 9. Her character, and she is so good and so commanding in her presence. I was saying in the middle of the season, she needs her own show. She needs her own ship. And by God, I hope she gets it. Even though I did like her captain was awesome. And there was sadness in that one because I loved that character instantly. And throughout the whole season.
They brought Tuvok, but they didn't bring back Janeway.
And there's a reason. Because Kate Mulgrew really had a problem with Jerry Ryan. She made Jerry Ryan's life the entire season, the entire time Voyager was going on, hell, they said. She never, physically like got in confrontations but she always had this pressure between her and Jerry Ryan. So Jerry Ryan has a she even states her time in Voyager was not good, and she wasn't even going to come back for Picard, except they told her we're going to give you arcs to make your character grow, and Kate Mulgrew will not be on the show with you. So she that's why you didn't see her. But I also say that if you look at, like Dennis was saying, she grew so much that I was like, she needs her own show. And I kept hearing rumors that Terry Matalas wanted to have Star Trek Legacy. And then, you know what? Here's one that this was one of the ones I was like keeping my fingers crossed that at the end of the show, I thought the Titan was going to be sacrificed. And then what they did is they were going to give us an Enterprise, because it's been so long since we've had a new modern Enterprise that is the flagship ship.
Right.
And then they gave us a Enterprise A moment from the movie, and they come over, and I was sitting there going, oh, they're not going to, yes, they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
My wife was yelling. She was yelling. She thought it was going to be called the USS Picard. That's what she had, that they had changed it to that. So she got it mostly right. They did change the name of the ship, and that's why he was nervous and everything. And there it was. And I was like, that was great.
That was so awesome.
And I'll tell you one of the other things that they did. So every moment in Next Generation, every character got their love, and every arc was great. I mean, it just was. But even Rafi, who was my least favorite by far in the show, I liked her ending. But they introduced us to new crew members. Sydney LaForge, I adored her through the entire thing. They gave us reasons to love. You know, his son, Jack. I love Jack Crusher as a character. We now are invested in these newer characters, which could be the franchise, along with our old legacy characters. And I'm like, so this has the potential. They have set it up right. Don't let us down by not going forward with this, because they ended this series. 10 IMAXs showed Picard in the theater. I wish I could have been at one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I really knew it was worth it.
The only thing is, like, the whole idea of where Jack came from is really kind of cringe. You know?
The what?
What?
Where Jack came from.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little suspect, bro. It's a little suspect.
It's a bit sus.
It's a little sus.
This is what one thing I'll say. Like,
all right, Beverly crushed it.
She literally crushed it.
Beverly was, growing up, she was like a heartthrob for me. I have a thing for redheads. Everybody knows it. Gates McFadden with that red hair was always phenomenal to me. So to see her come back and have the white, even though she doesn't have any of the red left, she still looks great. I mean, she has aged. Everybody has. I just loved it. I mean, Marina Sirtis, I've got a picture with my son and I with her and Jonathan Frakes. I mean, I didn't mind. I loved everything about this show. I just did.
I'm not afraid to say it. Marina Sirtis, I'd smash.
I have to say, you know what was funny? Because I know how you are about redheads and Phoenix, but what I thought was funny is I'm like, oh, she's going from Phoenix to Rogue. I said, Dennis is going to love this.
I did. I actually said that. I'm like, wow. Susie goes, where's her red hair? You love the redheads? I'm like, yeah, but she kind of went rogue. Not a bad second. So you caught it.
Hey, did you know that she was the choreographer for Labyrinth?
What?
I did not.
No.
Yeah, she was a dance choreographer for Labyrinth.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense because she does all those dance scenes with Data and okay. That's something I gotta add to Star Trek knowledge.
It was great. I didn't like I'm glad what they did with 7 of 9, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when they introduced 7 of 9 and she went to go kill like the we used to call her Beta, but when they introduced her, she went in to go stop the the guy, the serial killer that was basically serial killing Borg.
Yeah.
People that were assimilated at one time, and like it was her son from Voyager, and I don't know, and she ends up killing him. Like I was like, really, bro? Like this is just so much. Like he was such a huge character and such a big deal to her and it was a throwaway. They didn't even bring the actor back. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was such a throwaway moment that ended up meaning nothing.
Yep.
You won't know what is the name of the flagship now.
I do love it. So when they're at the in the big battle scenes, which that took way too long to destroy the starbase, but minor point. And but when you see the museum and they've got the Enterprise A, I'm pausing it, trying to zoom in, and look at that on my big TV. I'm like, I think that's the Enterprise A. I got to see my A. And Susan's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." Oh, what's that one? Oh, I think that's Voyager. I'm sitting there watching, and they're just such little cool Easter eggs. And when they rolled the D, and the D was not one of my favorite Enterprises. I thought it was cool, but it was nothing like my A. But I'm telling you, when they got on that ship and you saw it go by, and then they did the camera roll around where you saw that close up of the bridge and 10 forward and all of that. I'm like, holy crap, they never even did that in the movies.
No.
And I'm like, they just gave this so much love. And again, goosebumps.
It was like they took a movie budget and they said, okay, we're going to give all the Star Trek fans what they've been deserving all these years because they've had to deal with all this other stuff. And it felt like such a love letter to us Star Trek fans.
Yes.
That we got things that, in this episode, when you look at it and you see the where they're all sitting down and they're playing poker again.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, it's harkening back to that final episode of Next Generation. You see them like all the ships that you see during they're attacking the space station, right? It felt like the whole time they were attacking DS9. That's the feeling that I got. I was like, oh, it's like when they were attacking DS9 again. It was so many different little parts that, as a Star Trek fan, you can appreciate versus all the other stuff we've been given.
Yes.
And you go through this and you're kind of like, why have we never gotten this?
Correct. The bridge, they built all the sets for the bridges. There was nothing green screen. There was, none of that type of stuff. And I am telling you, it was just fantastic. I am going to share something quick because
Nice.
we were the second last group on the Enterprise D.
Oh, wow.
Before they closed it down. We left, the next group came in, and they literally tore it down.
The guy all the way to the right,
Vegas.
the guy up at the right, next to where Worf would normally stand, looks like Jim, the guy from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, now we have stayed friends. He's a captain. He lives down in Tennessee. We have stayed friends. We were all had a great time, Ed, here. But he always calls me Admiral. I was always Admiral, and he was always Captain. And we have stayed friends through all of this. It was just great. But being on that set, being able to touch everything, walk around and see it, I can remember it just like I was, yesterday. And when I saw them light up and the bridge came on there, and I just went, oh, there I am. There I am. I felt it. I literally felt it.
Were you in your mind? Were you like dun 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 dun? Dun, dun, dun?
Okay, so confess, who didn't play the Star Trek themes after you watched these shows?
Oh my God! In the moment, because
I didn't have time to, or I probably would have.
I love it. I do. I play it, and my wife will come out. Seriously, I've heard it. And then when she heard it, because I play this stuff all the time, and she's like, oh my God, it's not bad enough I don't hear it on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Now I have to hear it on the show. I'm like, maybe it's good.
So there was two things with the Picard season that I think needed to happen. Well, three things. We already talked about Wesley Crusher, but I think there was two things that were very, very lacking that probably should have done. Like number one, when they figured out that it was the Borg, when the Dominion basically were putting the little cutest DNA in the, I really thought that they would have figured out a way to stop that from happening, and maybe they were going to reverse it by using Barclay, because Barclay was leader of, he was the leader of the transport. He did the transport. Remember when he caught the big worms that were actually people? I thought that he was going to be. I thought they were going to bring him in because they haven't showed him at all.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see his character. And man,
I don't know why, but there had to be a reason, because I'm willing to bet if he would have been able to, I bet they would have brought him on.
And I think that we should have seen Thomas Riker.
I think
we had Tom Riker in the Defiant again. With what I'm saying, they got the Defiant back. Like Tom Riker was leading the charge,
or at least mentioned it. Again, there was a lot of little names or little screenshot that popped up. There's so many Easter eggs in this you're right. That would have been a great little Easter egg to put in. Maybe there was and we missed it, but I didn't see it.
I don't think so.
Hold on, we're still on the phone.
Yeah, I just say Todd Stashwick, though. I mean, that was probably my favorite new character, and at the very end, when Seven is like, "Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead, Tuvok, and resign from Starfleet."
Tuvok's like, "No, you're not."
And he grabs his little thing and shoves it over there and lets her play it. And when she teared up on that screen, and when he heard everything, if you didn't at least get watery eyed,
I think I had already used it up when he said, "Seven, you have the con."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. You have the con, Seven. When he called her Seven, I mean, I think that was the moment for the tears. Yeah. Did it get me emotional? Yeah, because I'm an emotional guy, but it didn't hit me as hard as when he was dying and he gave her the con. Even in his death, he used his last, he was official about it, but he let her know. He's like, "Hey, look, we were on the same level."
So I want to ask you a question. When you were watching, did you realize why his name is Shaw? Captain Shaw.
No.
Okay. Because that scene where he's in the 10 Ford and he talks about the Borg and everything, it's his moment to be Quint from Jaws. It is literally the Jaws moment. And the actor who played Quint was named Shaw. That's how they got the name Captain Shaw. Because
really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
If you look at it, it's his Quint moment. And they told him, they're like, "Your name is going to be Shaw because you're going to get the Quint moment in this Star Trek Picard."
That is cool. And that's a great movie, so I got no complaints.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And they brought Alice Krieg back as the Borg Queen. Now, probably
you couldn't tell the
body, but she's at least the voice, and I adore that. And I think that was her face, because that really looked like her eyes.
It was messed up, but I didn't think it was her, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was her, but I mean, the makeup and stuff was just crazy on that.
Oh,
yes.
And yes. I mean, I think that they should have, when it came down and they were looking at the deal, and they're like, "Look, if you blow this up, everyone's gonna die except for us." I would have probably just been like, "Hey, look." They knew that this had to happen anyway. I think that they should just beamed Worf and Riker up without their permission or whatever it is, and then they should have just blown it up and been like, "Sorry, Kirk." Now, granted, obviously we got the storybook ending. Nobody of any real consequence died.
Now, here's the question: did you realize what that happened at that moment when Deanna knows how to find them? It's the call back to Nemesis when she knows how to track the Riemann ship.
Yeah.
Because the minute he says, "I love you, Amzadi," all of a sudden she picks it up. I was like, I got goosebumps again, because I'm like, oh, they're calling back to Nemesis, where she's
Yes.
being able to track them because of that reason.
Well, and that was a Picard clone too.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when that ship comes flying in and you see the Enterprise like whoosh in there, and I'm like, oh, look at that. And it's again, because you've got she isn't actually flying the ship, which was so fantastic. And we were talking about that, and like, remember, she went in NX Generation, she went through command school, she took those tests, remember, and she wasn't very good, she studied hard, she does know how to do all of this. Kudos for Deanna Troy.
Yeah, it was again. It was a good episode. It was a good finale. Definitely better than the first two for sure. I thought Q might have been able to save season 2, but he didn't.
No, there wasn't much. We've got. They're talking about they announced the Section 31 film, and honestly, I love Michelle Yeoh as an actress. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, still one of my favorite movies.
Super Cop, Police Story 3, Super Cop.
Yep. But so I love Michelle Yeoh, and I thought her character was kind of neat, but they never wrote it very well. And Section 31 had so much potential, and when Kurtzman's tried it in the second movie, I'm like, you guys just keep screwing it up over and over again, and I'm like, I've lost my interest for the Section 31. And I think
they're going to try to make it work because of Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know what I'm saying?
I know she's popular.
She's and who knows? Like, we might see Short Round in there too. What's up?
Well, one of the coolest things is that whole Section 31
yes.
in Picard. When they show,
I would recommend it.
They show the Genesis device. They show Kirk's body.
Yeah.
They said they interviewed Terry Matalas and asked him about that. Now, have you either one of you ever gone through the Shatnerverse and read The Return, or listened to The Return?
Yes.
Okay. Terry Matalas says, I left it there in case they want to pick up with that story, that it might that would be a way to bring back a Kirk. And I thought that was really cool, because actually that story, The Return, was really good.
Cool. Yeah. They actually had there were a lot of good ones that were out there, and it's going to elude me though that I want to talk about it. It's the first time we get it was the Constitution class, and then they went with the Dreadnought class.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was so cool, and because that came directly out of the original Star Trek technical manual. That was the only time, and we never actually saw it on screen in TOS. But anyway, I know we're really geeking out here a bit, but
well, one last thing, the only thing that I had wished that they had done is, because they had all those ships at the Fleet Museum.
Yeah.
I was like, because it was one ship that was going to be taking on the entire fleet, I thought it would have been cool that all the old guys showed up at the Fleet Museum getting their ships. You saw Nana Visitor as in the Defiant with members of DS9 coming, and you saw them taking the old ships, helping the Titan take down
Voyager, armor plated.
That would have been great, but it would have been way too much of a story. They wouldn't have been able to fit it in.
Yeah,
they would have had a whole nother episode for
but they've given us so much that I would have just totally geeked out on that.
Yeah,
I agree with you. That would have been cool. And overall, like I said, there isn't a lot I would change with this season. I enjoyed every episode. There was none that I was really let down in, and I think the finale was so much better. And when we give our grades on this one,
your grade now? Are you getting ready to give your grade?
Well, I was going to say, before I give the grades, part of it could be, did I enjoy it as much as I think? Or am I just sad because we've gotten such crap Trek for the last 25 years that this was such a huge
So good.
memory.
It was so good because everything else was so bad.
Right, and then I'm going to artificially inflate it. Well, so I will be first since I lost last time, and then I'm going to see if you guys disagree with me. The entire season was almost a perfect season. There were so many things I liked because I kept going, and every episode ended leaving me wanting more to see the next one. I never had the ups and downs. I'm giving this a 9.6. This is a mint series. Like I said, could it be artificially inflated? Maybe. But this ending was so good. Everything. Top quality special effects, storyline that was in there, goosebumps and emotions running through it. I'm giving it a 9.8 for a finale.
Wow.
Awesome. Okay.
And Marcus, you did ask, yes. Other than Rafi from season 1 and 2, she was still the weakest out of that. Then they brought her over. She's the only one you need to worry about a little bit. Everything else, just go ahead and skip it. Don't torture yourself.
Don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
Don't. And for this season, watch everything again. It's just awesome. Okay, so who's next?
You
go ahead.
For the season, I will give it a 9.8 because overall, I told you I was hooked from episode 1, and it was midnight showings every night that it premiered. And the funniest thing is, I would go back and watch the prior episodes as it led up to that season during the week.
Oh, no wonder you were up to midnight every night.
So then, this show was, the season was just like you said. It's a diamond that we've needed for Star Trek, because all of us who are Trekkies just say.
Would you say deserved or needed? I think we deserved.
Needed and deserved. Now for the episode, I'm going to give it a 9.9. They just missed out on the Wesley Crusher showing up to talk to his brother.
Wow,
other than that,
fantastic.
I give it a 9.9.
That is the highest ever, I think, on the show for anything.
So I give it a 9.9
pretty
because
big grade, dude. That's a pretty big grade.
It felt like they nailed it on all points.
I'm going to answer this since they want to know. I wasn't going to, but hell, we've spoiled everything else. There is the flagship now of what should be, crossing our fingers, Legacy. It looks cool. I'm truly excited. We will see what they do, but there is your potential new
The
flagship.
G stands for Grogu.
No, don't curse it like that. Don't curse it like that.
It doesn't.
All right, Brian.
All right.
Now I can't wait to see how far you fall.
So look, the season was really, really good. Okay, but 4, 5, and 6 episodes 4, 5, and 6 were very lull at times, and like I will say that I don't think they were I don't think they were bad enough to be fillers, to be considered a filler episode, like the saving the Mandalorian from the bird. I don't think like it wasn't anything like that. But so for the season, I give it a 9.6 for the season. And for the finale, because there were things that they could have done and did not do, I will tell you that it would have been a 9.4, but because they out Star Wars on a finale with the Death Star run, I gave it a 9.6. So I gave it a 9.6 for the finale and a 9.6 for the season.
Nice. Wow. Well, there you go, everybody. We liked it a lot. Everybody.
Just to let you know, I wrote it down too, so you wouldn't think I was trying to copy you.
Love it. And you know what? We did not talk about it. I know we all kind of wanted to, and if I was around more, I know we probably would have done weekly ones. But at this point, we just saved it for the show, and I know when Joe tried calling me at midnight, I'm glad I was sleeping because we probably would have spoiled everything. So this was all fresh off the top. I loved it. Guys, I want to thank everybody who watches this, and we did have an awful lot of fun with it. I am going to just quickly, because Andy would get upset with me, and we don't want that. If I don't at least show Kor-Drath, we've got 12
Barbarian badassery.
Yeah, it's getting better. We're well over 83,000 right now. You can go read the entire first 8 pages just by clicking on the link below. Everything will be in there. Dudes, we just got through page 42 back, I think, with all the lettering, and we proofed it and everything. And, you know, you go into something thinking this is going to be great. This is going to be on there.
Hey, do you think that guy's okay in that past panel?
What's that?
The one you just passed? Scroll. Do you think that guy's all right?
Oh, well, if it's Star Wars,
do you think he's okay?
Yeah. We got to have a little badassery.
Is that a flesh wound? Or...
But yeah, it's coming together even better than I envisioned when I wrote it. So this is great. The main cover you guys can get, the wraparound. There's the of course the original sketch, the button, the Lilith, which is utterly fantastic.
Yeah.
Andy's great Conan #1 homage cover, and you can find out all this. There we go. You can play the game after you read the book. A completely different adventure, which I'm writing right now. Andy always has. That was the first thing I wrote for the book, was the parody ad, and it's very fun. You can get your T-shirts and beanies, your stretch goals. These are 7x10 with the art on the front, playable stats on the back. There's Kor-Drath, Adriana. We then went to the map and Lilith, and the next one that'll be combined between the two is going to be the Necronite.
Nice.
It's badass. So
I
guys,
really wish Andy would have taken my the Brian Blevins dragon variant, but he didn't want it, so he didn't want the Brian Blevins dragon variant.
Well,
it was good. It would have sold. It probably would have sold 1 million copies.
That would be awesome. Maybe for the next one. So anyway, guys, go back, and I always appreciate everything that you guys do. Brian, Joe, glad you guys were able to make it on. We need to do this a little more often instead of just finales, because
I'm usually always available except for Tuesdays. Tuesday's the only day that I really can't do anything. But I'm glad you invited me on.
I'm off every other Friday. Like, so from this Friday, I'm not off from that one. The one after that, but I am. So I'm always available for that. And this was a lot of fun. I was glad to be on, and it was nice to talk to people of like mind on how this was.
Well, that's just it. We didn't know if it was going to be like-minded or not, and we just
we get to talk trash. We
wanted to find out. I mean, this is what nerds do. We get around and talk, give everybody opinions, and then we're like, "Do you agree with it?" Yeah, they all agreed with it. So
I'm the evil mirror universe version of Brian, is what's up.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Make sure you sub, because this wasn't on Andy's stuff. You probably already all sub. But anyway, if you're new and you catch this on a replay, make sure you subscribe to the Dennis and Andy Show. Wednesdays, we always bring on a comic book artist, writer, inker, somebody great to talk to. And as always, gentlemen, it was great having you on. We'll leave with the video, and just hang in the back room when we're done.
fight.